All right, my loves, we are back. And I am so excited to dive into the power of reflection and just take a moment to sit with that when you hear reflection as a concept and me saying how powerful it is. Notice what comes up for you. And now I want to tell you that as somebody who identifies as highly driven and highly ambitious, and perhaps it has to do with my 1-3 sacral manifesting generatorness, reflection wasn't something that I always loved. And it wasn't always something I was good at. And even to this day, it is something that I have to force myself to do sometimes. But I'm always so glad when I give myself the gift of that. So I wanted to kick that off because if you're tuning in and you're interested in this, but you're like me, where you want to move a million miles a minute and it's the next thing and then the next thing and the next goal and the next desire and the next manifestation and the next accomplishment. And you're like, I don't want to pause. I don't want to stop. I don't want to slow down and look back. Know that you are in great company and that you are not alone. And there's a couple, I love a good quote. I love a good quote. So I'm going to share a few quotes that I love and I believe to ring true when it comes to reflection. And so this first one is by the great Maya Angelou. This is the one that I refer to most of the time. But she says, you can't really know where you're going until you know where you've been. And I love that. And me having a background and training in powerful modalities like NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, and hypnotherapy and time techniques, what I know to be true is that the goal is not to look to the past and recreate it. That's not what this quote means, but it's about looking at the past, whether it was yesterday or last week or last month or last year, and making sure we're mining the gold, that we are getting the lessons. So that way we can take those, we can integrate them, and then we can powerfully move forward. On one of the last episodes I recorded, you may remember we had talked about it's called If Life is a Game, These Are the Rules. It's 10 rules for living. And one of the rules was something along the lines of like, you'll learn the same lessons, or the same lessons will be presented again and again as many times as it takes for you to learn them. And the tool of reflection makes sure that you can learn the lesson and then move on. And your life doesn't keep throwing the same cruddy stuff in your face. It just throws you new flavors of it because you need new lessons, right? So there's that one. There's two other quotes that I really love. It says, this is by Richard Carlson. Reflection is one of the most underused, powerful tools for success. Successful people take the time to pause, to look behind, to grab the lessons and move forward. And then I really love this one. We do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. So if I did not already have you sold on why we're doing this, why we're spending time with this, why this matters, hopefully hearing from a couple of other really wise people is helpful. And before I share, just kind of quickly, and inside of the show notes, I will make sure you have access to this. But I kind of want to rattle off the process that I like to guide myself through and that I also take my clients through quite often. I want to give you a little peek inside of my world. You might hear this and think, Dani? No. But yeah. So what I mean by that is I have a tendency, I have for as long as I can remember, to be really hard on myself. I can be my own worst critic. I mean, I remember at a very young age, like not getting straight A's or having things, red circles or marks on my homework, and like feeling a visceral reaction of like not being good enough, not doing enough, and then it literally manifesting as illness in my body. And so, one of my personal favorite reasons to reflect is because it allows me to be immersed in the truth of the matter, which is the commitment to growth, the healing, the progress without fail. Just so you know, the tools I'm going to share with you, I don't necessarily do this weekly, but I do like to do this monthly, quarterly, and annually. The same process I'm going to guide you through today. And I will often get to the end of the month and maybe feel tired or burn out. And if you're an entrepreneur, there's this funny meme that I'm thinking of. I'm wondering if you've ever seen it. It says a day in the life of an entrepreneur. And it's like an infographic and it's like all these squiggly lines and like you start your day and you're like, this is going to be the best day ever. And then it goes down and it says, I suck. And then it goes back up and it's like, yay, celebrating this win. And then, oh, this is so hard. So when I say that at the end of the month, I feel a certain way, well, on the end of the month, I feel all of the ways because I think I feel all of the ways all of the time when you choose the path of spiritual entrepreneurship or leadership of any kind. But without fail, when I give myself the gift of reflection and the things I'm going to recommend that you do if you choose to walk yourself through this incredible process is I'm going to recommend that you have your phone handy. Your camera roll when it comes to reflection is pure gold. You're like, just trust me here. You'll see what I mean if you actually do this. And then wherever you manage your life or track your life. So for me, I have been forever since I was probably in middle school. So like 13, 14-year-old Dani, I love a paper planner. Give me paper and pen. I do happen to use other online systems for calendaring. Like I use Google Calendar and a system called Acuity for my business. But much of my life lives inside my life and my business live inside my paper planner. So to get a really accurate picture, because if you're anything like me, I have a really bad memory. So like sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what I did yesterday. But between my camera roll and my calendar, it helps remind me of the magic. But where I was going with that is I have a really insane, psychotic, sometimes inner critic. And that the voice of that inner critic often gets really, really quiet during reflection. And the voice of spirit, the voice of God, the voice of my own inner self gets really loud. And she says things like, wow, I'm really proud of you. Wow, look at how much we've done together. You're incredible. And so, for those of you who have a psychotic mean girl inner critic like me, this tool's going to be so helpful for you. So, I'm going to rattle these off really quickly just so you kind of have an idea of what this looks like. And I will make sure that this gets dropped in the show notes as well. And you can add to this. You don't have to answer every question, but this is the process I've been using and sharing with my clients for a really long time. At the time of this recording, we're going to be doing a quarterly reflection together. But again, you can do this on a weekly, monthly basis. You can do it quarterly. So the first question is, when you think about this past quarter, what three words come to mind? So we're just going to keep it really high level, really simple. Maybe think about the last 3 months, and maybe there's a word for each of those months. Or maybe when you think about a quarter is approximately 90 days, maybe when you think about the 90 days as a whole, there's just three words that come to mind. So that's the first one. And then I love to have some sort of a scale to use. This is a very coachy thing where if something is intangible, meaning it's not easily measured, like you can measure money, you can measure how much of something you're consuming. But when it comes to important values and feelings, you can't always easily measure that. So putting on a scale of 1 to 10 is super helpful. It's like coaching 101. This is one of the things you learn about goal setting. So I would love for you to take a moment to rate on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the best, perfection doesn't get any better than that. These are some things I like to rate: happiness, calmness, fulfillment, energy, health, relationships, fun and leisure, self care, productivity, and time management. Productivity and time management are in one line. So, those are some really beautiful, kind of overarching things to think about. And there might be something that you're focused on in your personal or your professional life that you also want to add to this. So you can add, again, you can add more categories or you can omit some, you can take them away if some of these things don't matter to you a ton. The next thing, these are two of my favorite, to be honest. It's the rest of these are going to be fill in the blanks. So you can do this. It's super powerful, but does not have to be very time consuming. I wish I would have done more dot, dot, dot. And then I wish I would have done less. These are some of my favorites, again, monthly, quarterly, annual reflection questions. I wish I would have done more and I wish I would have done less because they're so insanely simple, wildly simple, but they hold so much information. So just take a moment to think about that, jot that down, and you'll get access to all of this. The next one is I started. What is something that you started? In the quarter that I'm reflecting, you guys, I started boxing. I'm a boxer. I started recording new podcast episodes. I started an incredible coaching program called Energy Expansion Academy. Right? So like think about those things. Maybe you started a really juicy Netflix series. I don't know. Think about that. So, what are some things you started? And maybe it's less, a lot of what I just shared were external things, but maybe there's some internal things. Like, I started to really see my own light. I started to love on and appreciate myself in a whole new way. So, what did you start? This is fun. And then the next thing is, I finished. What did you finish? Maybe it was that juicy Netflix series that you started and you finished it. Maybe it's a book that has taken you a year and a half to read. Pointing to myself there, but you finished it. That's what matters. Maybe you're going through an incredible certification or class and you finished that and you're celebrating that. Maybe there was a relationship that you knew wasn't serving you anymore. So you allowed yourself to complete and finish that. Okay. The next one is the top 3 things you're proud of. I hope that when I have you ponder the top 3 things that you're proud of, you're like, this is hard because I cannot narrow it down to 3. And if you can't narrow it down to 3, then don't. Just go for it. Go wild. Write down as many things as you can. And then the last one is the top 3 lessons I learned. Ooh, that one kind of hits. It gives me that oof because not all the time, but even when I say that out loud, how do we learn lessons? We often learn lessons through challenges and through adversity and through having our boundaries pushed or not, like something happening and us not feeling great about it. And we're like, oh, there's that. And I don't like that. So we're going to do it different. So don't get me wrong. I don't want to create the story and I don't want you to take on the story that in order to grow and heal and learn lessons that like really crappy things have to happen, because I do believe that you can learn, right? Wonderful things can happen and you can allow your body to receive those and you can say, yeah, I like this and I want more of this. But I do believe that sometimes lessons come in lots of different ways and forms. And for me personally, I don't want you to take this on if you don't want to. But when I think about my greatest lessons, they come from some of the like harder, heavier moments. But from those moments, the way that they get integrated into my body, it's like noted, got it. We're not going to do that again. We're not revisiting that. And for that, I am forever grateful. So with that being said, I am going to send you off into your powerful reflection process. I'm so excited for you and I cannot wait to hear about how this goes for you. In fact, I would love for you after you do this, find me on the social medias and send me a message and let me know what this process was like for you. Love you. See you next time.